After the defeat of Kamala Harris in November 2024, the Democrats decided recently to run an autopsy, a discovery, so to speak, of why they lost that election. These autopsies are not uncommon for the losing political party, but they only tend to work if you're honest and you try to analyze every considerable factor or criterion without censorship or without fear. In the case of the Democrats, though, there are certain elements of that campaign that were obviously wrong and contributed to their defeat.
Victor lays out the real question. Can the Democrats honestly confront why Americans rejected them in 2024, or will they keep blaming everything but themselves? What's at stake isn't just political survival. It's whether a major party can face its own excesses. If the Democrats dodge a genuine reckoning, it means their leadership is still more loyal to ideology than to the voters who've abandoned them. No real change ever begins with denial, which is why this so-called autopsy could turn out to be just another cover-up.
Why was Joe Biden nominated in the first place? He seemed to, after the South Carolina primary of 2020, kind of be coronated. He had lost New Hampshire, he had lost Iowa, and then the party bosses came in and said, Pete Buttigieg, Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, these people are too radical. We'll get old Joe Biden from Scranton, even though he's not alert. And then when he was president, they kind of created a cabal, didn't they, that hid his dementia. And then when he was no longer useful and could not, serve as a waxen effigy for a radical agenda under his name or his auto pen, then they dumped him. And yet, at that point, they should have had an open convention. But they didn't. They anointed Kamala Harris, who had been a candidate in 2020, a dismal candidate, and had not won one delegate. Her campaign, truncated though it was an abysmal failure. I mean, she went through $1 billion. She really didn't have a message. She avoided the press. When she did try to speak extemporaneously, it was a word salad, and she was just an unimpressive candidate. More importantly, though, they didn't have issues and policies that reflected their core values, but would also appeal to the middle class. Bill Clinton was a liberal, but he ran in 92 and 96 on 100 new police officers. Abortion should be, remember, legal, safe, but rare. School uniforms. Juveniles who commit violent crimes should be punished accordingly. There should be a secure border. Illegal immigration is wrong. And then he made a populist appeal to the middle class. The Democrats are not going there anyway. They don't want to talk about the middle class because their policies, open borders, the Green New Deal, critical race theory, critical legal theory, defund the police, all that have to be rejected because they're anathema to the middle class. They won't do it.
Here's the brutal reality behind Victor's observations. The Democratic leadership's pattern, hiding Biden's decline, then trying to anoint Kamala Harris, was not only a tactical mistake, but also symptom of a deeper rot. Instead of offering real solutions for the working and middle class, the party doubled down on top-down control and symbolic victories. Look at the refusal to shift back toward mainstream concerns like public safety, affordable energy, or basic economic opportunity. What does that signal? That the party's activist elite are still setting the agenda, even if it means losing elections. And when any party becomes unresponsive to the heart of the middle class, it's not just out of touch, it's in decline.
Look what happened in 2008 when John McCain lost. Remember that to Barack Obama? He didn't do very well at all. He was a moderate Republican. About 10,000 Republicans were unimpressed and stayed home, or 10 million independents, or whatever we want to call them. But the point is there were millions of voters who would have voted for a Republican candidate had he just appealed to the middle class. Instead, there wasn't much difference if you look at their respective campaigns between John McCain and Barack Obama. And when John McCain lost, there was a Republican autopsy. And what did they find? Well, they picked Michael Steele because he was black and he was, I guess, a McCainite, but he wasn't he wasn't the medicine for the cause of John McCain's defeat. Remember what they also did? They started idealizing Barack Obama. David Frum, a Republican strategist, had a very infamous essay where he compared Barack Obama to what he said was the new head of the Republican Party, Rush Limbaugh. And he said he's white, he's fat, he's had multiple marriages, he's not a good example. That wasn't the point. The point was that Rush Limbaugh had some ideas, not all of them that could be incorporated into a new Republican message, but close the border, protect American citizens, try to create a new policy that favors the middle class in matters of trade and tariffs, avoid optional wars in the Middle East, on the ground at least, that rely on the middle class that you have neglected during globalization to fight for you. Try to be fiscally responsible. All those were core Republican values, and yet when you looked at that Republican autopsy of 2009, it was essentially try to out-identity politics or let in people from south of the border illegally. It was not a corrective. Bottom line is, until the Democrats look in the mirror and say, we have a message that nobody wants in the middle class, it's antithetical to the middle class, on crime, on immigration, on energy, on foreign policy, on the economy, they'll never change. They will never change. And they're like addicts. They can't live with DEI, with the Green New Deal, with this utopian globalization, and they can't live without it.
Victor's comparison to past Republican defeats exposes a universal problem in both parties. It's easier to blame demographics or identity politics than to fix unpopular policies. Listen closely to his point. Real reform only happens when leaders admit they've lost the center. But right now, Democrats are trapped in a loop, addicted to ideas like DEI, open borders, and green utopianism, because these ideas define the party's elite social circles. The danger is this insularity stops them from seeing what's obvious to everyone else. Until a party respects the priorities of ordinary Americans, it's doomed to repeat its own failures. That's not just bad for the Democrats. It's dangerous for national unity. If you think America deserves leadership that listens to the middle class and you're tired of excuses from both parties, don't just sit back. If you value honest analysis and real conversations, make sure to subscribe, hit the like button, and share your thoughts in the comments. What did we miss and what should we tackle next? Your voice makes this community stronger. Let's keep pushing for the truth together.